What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, in the past, I've talked about the training camp of the big name rookies that the Detroit Lions drafted. I've talked about DeAndre Swift. I've talked about Jeff Okudah and even Quintez Cephus, who are all admittedly having very, very good training camps. However, there is another rookie out of this draft class that I believe is having one of the best training camps out of the bunch and is arguably having the most important training camp of any rookie the Detroit Lions drafted. Now, this guy is not getting the recognition he deserves because he does play on the offensive line. And that guy is, of course, Jonah Jackson, the third-round selection by the Detroit Lions in this 2020 NFL Draft. Now, Jonah Jackson is not getting the recognition he deserves because mostly he's an offensive lineman, and they're not the flashiest position to talk about. However, Jonah Jackson's training camp is going to be the most important out of any rookie this season, and so far he's having a great training camp and is doing something no other rookie can say. So we will get into that in a little bit, and we will talk about Jonah Jackson's phenomenal training camp so far. But before we do get into it, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel, as it takes only 2 seconds out of your day to make mine. I'd be very, very appreciative to everybody that chooses to do so. But with that being said, let's get into talking about Jonah Jackson's phenomenal training camp so far and why his training camp might be the most important out of every rookie in the Detroit Lions 2020 draft class. Now, as I mentioned, the Detroit Lions selected Jonah Jackson in the third round of this past 2020 NFL Draft. Now, the Detroit Lions actually traded back up into the third round to go select Jonah Jackson because they needed the guard position bad. Now, the Detroit Lions starter from 2019, Graham Glasgow, did walk in free agency and went to the Denver Broncos, where he got a huge big money deal that the Detroit Lions just were not willing to pay. So when you let your starting guard walk, you obviously have to replace him with somebody new, and the Detroit Lions went out and did that. They got their guy in the third round in Jonah Jackson, who so far has been the starter for the Detroit Lions. Now, you might say that Jeff Okudah is having a great training camp. You might say that DeAndre Swift and Quintez Cephus and all these rookies are having great training camps so far. However, Jonah Jackson is doing something that no other rookie can claim right now, and that is the fact that Jonah Jackson has been the starting right guard for the Detroit Lions since day one of training camp. Jonah Jackson has been getting first-team reps with the first-team offense since day one, and that's something that Jeff Okudah can't say about himself on the first-team defense. DeAndre Swift has not been playing with the first-team offense the entire time. You know, all of these guys, Julian Okwara has not been playing with the first-team defense. All of our other rookies have been brought up very slowly. All of our other rookies have been practicing with the second stringers, even the third stringers, some of them, and none of them have really been consistently playing in the first-team reps as far as, you know, the first week. A lot of them were brought in very, very slowly, and they were being developed with the second team early on in training camp. But not Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson on day one was the starting right guard for the Detroit Lions and really has held that spot throughout the first 8 days of training camp, which is very, very impressive. Now, the Detroit Lions needed a guard, as I said, very, very badly, and Jonah Jackson is really, really good. He's been having a phenomenal training camp so far with the Detroit Lions. Now, Jonah Jackson in college, in his first and only year at Ohio State after transferring to Rutgers, had a very good season for the Ohio State Buckeyes, as he not only helped J.K. Dobbins rush for over 2,000 yards and be a Heisman finalist, but he also protected Justin Fields for over 1,000 snaps and made Justin Fields a Heisman finalist. Now, Jonah Jackson was arguably the best player on that Ohio State offensive line, and it showed, as he was one of the only players on that offensive line that got drafted. Now, Jonah Jackson, he's played really well in college, and he is continuing to play well in the NFL, or at least in training camp so far against the Detroit Lions. He has consistently shut down fellow rookie Julian Okwara in team drills as well as one-on-one drills. You know, he's just playing really, really well against Julian Okwara, but he's also been shutting down other really good pass rushers that the Detroit Lions have. He is not getting beat a whole lot, and is obviously showing why the Detroit Lions picked him in the third round. He's showing that it's a great selection, and so far, Jonah Jackson has not been getting beat by a whole lot of people, and the only people that I've seen that have beat him so far is Trey Flowers, who is by far our best pass rusher. And, you know, if you're a rookie in your first week of training camp, and the only guy that you're being beat by is Trey Flowers, that says a lot about you, because, I mean, that just, if you're only getting beat by Trey Flowers, who is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and you're shutting down guys like Julian Okwara, who people are very high on and think, you know, maybe could have gone in the first round, if you're shutting down guys like Romeo Okwara, who's had 7.5 sacks in the NFL before, you know, that's really telling of a pass protector. And, you know, if the Detroit Lions want to have a good run game, if they want to keep Stafford up, and if they want to have a really good offense in the 2020 season, they're going to need a good offensive line. And we know that, you know, Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker are solidifying that. We know Big V, if healthy, is going to solidify that right tackle tackle, but the guard positions were really the biggest question mark right now, and Jonah Jackson is starting to answer one of those questions. He is starting to answer the right guard's question. He's going to fill in and be the full-time starting right guard as it seems right now. Jonah Jackson's transition to the NFL so far has seemed very smooth, and I think a big part of that is because not only, he's made big transitions like this before. Obviously, from going to high school to Division I football, that is a big transition, and he did that very well at Rutgers his first couple of years. And in fact, he was so good at Rutgers, he decided to transfer to Ohio State to play against better competition, to play, better competition every week in the Chase Youngs and that defensive line at Ohio State that always seems to be putting out first-round selections, or at least guys that get drafted very high every single year. He made the transition from high school to college football, which is a tough one. He made the transition from a weaker Big Ten school to the Ohio State University that, where he's arguably playing against the best defensive line in the country every single day. And then now he's making the transition from Ohio State to the NFL, where he's going to be playing even better competition. He's going to be going against not only the, great players to come out of Ohio State, but he's going to be playing against the great players, of the NFL. And NFL players are obviously better than college football players. I mean, he's made transition before. He's made the transition from Rutgers to Ohio State, and that transition was seamless. As I said, he was one of the best O-linemen for the Ohio State Buckeyes last season, and him making the transition from Ohio State to the NFL seems about as smooth as it could be, as he has done everything right and not only has got the first string job, but has also retained it throughout the first 8 days of training camp. Now, one of the things that has come out of training camp about Jonah Jackson that I think is very telling is that even when he's getting beat, even when, Trey Flowers beat him on a couple pass rush drills, even when, things start to get complicated in the team drills, Jonah Jackson does not seem overwhelmed. He does not seem very confused, and he seems like he is just a very confident and very smart offensive lineman, which is great for him. Sometimes rookies, if they see something complicated that they don't see in college football a lot, sometimes if they see those stars of the NFL like the Trey Flowers, like the Romeo Okwara's, or even the Danny Shones, sometimes they are starstruck. Sometimes it just takes them a little while to get up to speed, but Jonah Jackson throughout training camp does not seem overwhelmed. Even when he's getting beat, even when he got beat by Trey Flowers, he came right back onto the field confident as ever and stood up and made the play the next rep. I mean, he's just playing so well. Even when he is getting beat, he's not losing confidence. Not only is Jonah Jackson performing very well in one-on-ones, he's also performing very well in team drills. As one of the days of practices, I couldn't find which one, he was a member of the first string offensive line, as we've talked about, but the Detroit Lions defense dialed up something very exotic, where they not only were blitzing, but they were also stunting on the front seven, and it was very complicated, and Jonah Jackson and the rest of the offensive line stood up and held the defensive line and the front seven back long enough for Matthew Stafford to make a great throw, and it was a really big play. And, that got a lot of his teammates excited. They were cheering and they were hyped, and the Detroit Lions were just very excited about this offensive line play, and that is something you don't see a lot in the NFL. A lot of the time you don't see NFL players getting excited over offensive line play. A lot of the times you don't see that kind of stuff, and the fact that Jonah Jackson was a member of this offensive line that played so well throughout training camp so far, this offensive line that's picking up really good blitzes, that's picking up really good stunts by the defensive line, shows me that the Detroit Lions offensive line is playing a lot better, and that is going to be good in the 2020 season. And as I said earlier, if the Detroit Lions want to have a successful offense, and they want to have a successful run game, and they want to keep Stafford upright, and they just want to be a good football team, they're going to need to run the football, and they're going to need a good offensive line in order to do that. And Jonah Jackson not only is going to be a starting member on that offensive line, but by the end of the season, we might be looking at Jonah Jackson as the second best offensive lineman on the team. And for a third round rookie that we had to trade up to go get, that is really good value in the third round. And as I said, by the end of the season, we might be looking at Jonah Jackson as the second best, or maybe even the best offensive lineman on this team. The last thing I want to mention about Jonah Jackson is that his coaches absolutely rave about him. I mean, if you ask about Jonah Jackson, even on the first day of training camp, even, a couple of days in, Matt Patricia was praising this guy for, his work in the classroom, for his maturity, the fact that he doesn't seem fazed by a whole lot, and he's just a very confident and smart and good young man to play on the offensive line for the Detroit Lions.
I understand you guys got a month to go to really figure everything out with rotations and depth charts and stuff like that. But Jonah Jackson did get a nice opportunity with the first team today. And I just wondered, in this environment in particular, what does a guy like that have to show you in the classroom to get that opportunity on day one on the practice field?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We've actually been able to have some walkthroughs, I would say, previous to obviously being on the field here today per phase two and through phase one, some different things that we've been able to do. So Some of those other guys have actually been in there. It's just kind of how the rotation was going and maybe some of the different looks that we had that Jonah was out there kind of today from that standpoint. But just in general with Jonah, I would say he's a guy that's very mature. He's, studies extremely hard. Nothing really kind of phases him. I think even the, just the move from Rutgers to Ohio State is something that where he's handled transition before. So for him, this is just another transition into a new team and trying to learn everybody really quick. So I think he's done a really good job with that stuff. And certainly, there's a lot to work on from the practice here today, fundamentals and techniques and speed and size of some of the guys that were out there. Some of that, was moving pretty quick for him. But really, O'Day and Kenny and those guys have been working through their kind of previous to getting out there today. So kind of just a rotational thing. It kind of wound up being the first day of pads.
Now, with all that being said, I do believe Jonah Jackson's training camp is the most important for the Detroit Lions because, we've talked about it before, just talked about it a couple minutes ago. If, Jonah Jackson's playing well, we know Frank Radio's going to play well. We've seen Taylor Deckers playing well in training camp so far. We've heard, pretty good things about Big V so far. The offensive line is looking really good in training camp, or at least it's looking, good enough for the Detroit Lions to have a run game and have a successful offense next season. Now, with that being said, Jonah Jackson's training camp is the most important because he is going to be needed to solidify the interior of that offensive line. And if he can do that, and if he can, solidify that right guard position, that only leaves one spot left. And if 4 out of the 5 positions on your offensive line are filled, your offensive line is going to be pretty good. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is more Detroit Lions news before tomorrow, I'll obviously make a video letting every single person know. But until then, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is no Lions news, I will see all of you tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see all of you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.